Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. We're now in the middle of October and we've had a really wet and wild few weeks. Lots of rain and wind and the flower patch has taken a bit of a hammering. We've not been able to get that many good quality flowers from it. Still managed to get a couple of florist buckets out, which has been great, but not enough for the garden gate stall, unfortunately. We haven't had any cold weather though, we haven't had a frost yet. We've been down to about 2 degrees Celsius, that's about as low as it has gone. So the dahlias are still just flowering in the garden. We've now just had a period of sunshine today, so I thought it would be nice to go outside in the garden and see what was still flowering, what I could rescue from the wind damage and see if we could make a nice October arrangement. And it's also useful at this time of year to go around, see what's flowering so you can plan next year's garden. Are there any gaps that you'd like some flowers growing into autumn next year? What kind of ideas can you come up with? What is flowering well? So we'll have a look in a second at the flowers that I've got to work with. That might give you some ideas for your planting next year, and then we'll put together a nice jar arrangement. So the first thing I wanted to show you today was this amazing panicum. It's Frosted Explosion. It's a fantastic grass to grow and it comes out last in my garden for me out of those annual grasses. So I've been waiting for that to come out for a wee while now, and then it hasn't been bothered at all by the rain and wind. It's doing just fine. And grasses add such lightness and texture and movement to your arrangements. They're fantastic to use. So I'd highly recommend, if you don't go annual grasses already, to give it a go. And I've been taking some footage, filming it throughout this season of all the different grasses that I grow. And I'm gonna dig that out, put it all together and do a video this winter on growing grasses as annuals, because they really are fantastic. So that's gonna go in today's arrangement. Down here I've also got some mint. So at this time of year, mint is fantastic. When you get to autumn time, these have all sturdied up. So when you cut them, they're not going to flop in your vase. When you use them earlier on in the season, in early summer or late springtime, they have a tendency to wilt quite easily and you need to be really careful with your conditioning and things. But at this time of year, they are really strong, sturdy stems and they add some delicious scent as well to your arrangements. Over here you can see that we've got lots of dahlias that we have still got flowering in the garden, which is fantastic because as soon as we get a frost, then overnight they're just going to disappear. So I'm enjoying them while we've still got them. And the wind does mean that even though they've been in the horizontal netting, just that terrific rain we've had and the wind has meant that we've got some bendy stems and things. But I want to show you today that you can still use dahlias that have slight bendy stems in them. That's absolutely fine in arrangements. They tuck in really nicely, and providing you've got a beautiful flower head at the top, it really doesn't matter what's happening down there on the bottom end of the stem. Over here as well, we've got this fantastic foliage. So this is Physocarpus Darts Gold, and I've also got Physocarpus 9 bark growing in the garden as well, which is a darker variety. And this is fantastic. Again, earlier in the season, when the soft new leaf growth is coming in, these foliage tend to be quite wilty and you have to be very careful with them. But at this time of year, when you're putting them in arrangements, they have toughened up. They've got much tougher leaves and you still need to condition them, but they're far less prone to wilting, so they're fantastic to use. And I like the colour in it as well because it's just different shades there of greens and yellows. Very pretty. What else have we got? A surprise at this time of year has been what comes back again. And we've got things like your Astrantia and things, Hesperus that do a second flush, but I've also found that this year I've had some Mallow as well. And I've really liked seeing how long it's lasted in a vase at this time of year. I'm going to see if I can find some here to show you. Here's some Mallow too. This is a really easy perennial to grow from seed. It's fantastic. And I've got pink and white varieties that I grow in the garden. Comes back every year for me. And it has lasted really, really well in flower arrangements that I've done over the last few weeks. So that's a really nice one to use as a filler. So after the annual asters are finished in the garden, which for me is around mid-September time, you start to get all the perennial asters coming in, and these are fantastic for flower arranging. They give you so much filler in there with some beautiful flowers. So you can see we've got some different varieties here. We've got pinks, purples, blues, really pretty. And also in my bucket, you can see there we've got that mallow again that I was just talking about. And we've also got some beautiful sedum. Sedum is fantastic for flower arranging too. At this time of year, you might find that your yarrow is giving you a second flush. So these perennials are fantastic when you can get an early summer flowering and then cut them back and they come back again in the early autumn for you. I've got some eryngium here as well, which has been growing away in the garden just now. So they are all going to be used in today's flower arrangements. Let's go and have a look in the other bucket I've got. Now my cosmos has been really strong this year, doing really well, but we really have had it hammered by the wind and the rain, and cosmos does get petal damaged if it's out in the rain. But what it's best to do is to cut it when it has cracked buds like these, and then it will open up in the vase for you inside and you won't get any of that water damage on the petals. So we've still got some there. We've got some apricotta, we've got some white purity, so some lovely ones to use. And again, the cosmos has great foliage on it too. Over here we've got just a few snapdragons still out in the garden, so I've cut some of those. And then over here you can see we've got some scabious. They're fantastic at this time of year as well. And just a few, you can probably see here, a little bit of our phlox as well. That's our annual phlox still flowering outside. So let's go and make an arrangement with some of these lovely flowers. So starting off making my arrangement today, I have got my jar, got some fresh water in it, it's nice and clean, put a ribbon on for decoration, and my Cloudberry Flowers label for people to add on a gift tag right to and from who it is if they would like. So we'll just move some of these slightly out the way. And down here I've got a bucket for some of my ends and bits that we're not going to need in the jar arrangement. And I've got my snips ready as well. So I'm just going to move some of the dahlias too out the way so we've got room to work. Put them down there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a framework with my physocarpus. So that's going to be the first thing that goes in. When you're conditioning physocarpus, you want to put it in a clean bucket of water once you've cut it. Strip any foliage that is on the lower section that'll be below the water line. And then you can give it a snip vertically up the stem, about an inch, and that just helps it draw water up as well. So that has been conditioning for a wee while now. I think some of these leaves will be below the water line when we put it into our jar, so I'll just snip them off. And I'm not sure about the height exactly, so I'm just going to test that out. I'm going to cut it at a slant again, take a couple more of these bottom leaves off, and then I'll pop it in. There. And we'll find another one. Again, that one down the bottom there I think will be below the water line. Give it another horizontal snip. So you condition your flowers really and your foliage to let them recover after you have cut them. And if you give them a nice big drink, then they won't be so thirsty when you put them in the vase at home. They will have done a lot of their drinking already, so they'll just take up smaller amounts and they'll be less prone to wilting. They'll last longer in your vase. There we go, that's looking nice. I think I'll put one more in and then we'll see how we go. So it's always easier to start with some foliage, I think, just to build up a framework and get an idea of what it's going to look like. And then I think what I'm going to do next is add some sedum. So this is gorgeous and it just lasts really well in a vase. So I'm just going to make sure there's nothing on the stem there. Pop that in around the side. There we go. So here's another piece of sedum that we're going to add in. Just going to cut it at an angle, give it another cut there so it takes up water nicely, and then I'm going to put that into our arrangement just over there so you can see it around there. then we'll maybe add another piece around the front too. There we go. Right, now next we are going to add some of the cosmos because it's a fantastic filler. So you can see on here we've got some white purity cosmos. We've got one flower out, got lots of buds that'll come out in the vase, and we've got lots of this lovely green ferny foliage too. Again, I'm going to just make sure that my stem is nice and clear and that there is none of the green foliage below the waterline. Give it another snip at an angle and then pop that in. It might just need to be a tiny bit shorter actually. There we go. Pop that in that side. And let's see if we've got another one. The cosmos as well is just like the dahlias. As soon as a frost comes, then that will be them over for the year. So it's nice to enjoy them while they're still here. Because we've now got some clear skies and we've got some sunshine out, it does mean that the temperatures dip. So I don't think we're too far away now from our first frost. So it's definitely nice to enjoy flowers this week while we can. Last week the first frost went into November before we had it, but I think this year it's going to be earlier. So this is Apricota Cosmos, one of my favourites. So that's starting to look nice and full and pretty. So the next thing that I'm going to put into my jar arrangement is some of those perennial asters. So let's have a look at what we've got. This is a nice one here, nice pink one. So I just need to cut a little bit off that so the height's right. And I'm going to tuck that in down the back. I will show you what this is looking like in a minute. I'll just tuck it in a bit further there. So I'll turn it around and you can see that we've got that lovely aster there. And then we'll look and see if we can find another one. There's another aster I'll put in. Remove some of the lower leaves again. And just tuck that in at the front. And then I think we'll put some aster in. It's always good to turn your arrangement around and see where you want to place something next. So another pink aster here that I'm going to pop in the middle. I'll show you what that's looking like just now. So you can see here we've got some of our Physocarpus Darts Gold, we've got some of our Sedum, we've got some of our Apricota Cosmos, and our Cosmos Purity, got some of these lovely asters, more Apricota Cosmos around here. So it's looking nice. And we'll keep adding some more things now. So we're going to put some mallow in, and some eryngium, some mint, and then we'll add some dahlias as well. Right, so I think time to add some mallow. This is a lighter pink to break up with the dark pink that's there. So we've had some really wet and wild weather, so I haven't actually done as many videos in the last few weeks because it's just been so wild. I couldn't get out in the flower patches, and I have got my seedlings on in the greenhouse, but not really too much happening there that's different from the last time that I spoke to you. So it's been a bit quiet on the video front, but I wonder what your weather has been like recently, because I know that it's been quite a split between the south of England and Scotland. Scotland's had all this flooding, it's had lots of rain, lots of wind, and down south I think you've had unseasonably high temperatures, so quite a difference between the different parts of the UK that you're in at the moment. So your flower season might still be going great, you might have loads of flowers, or it might be tailing off if you're in parts of Scotland like me. Let's just get some of this lovely mint now as well. Love using herbs in arrangements. I've got an earlier video that I did do on using herbs and what I grow in arrangements, so you might be able to find that if you have a look back on my channel. So I'm just going to pop some mint down there as well. So these have all been freshly cut because I just put them in jars to show you on the table. They've been conditioning in buckets before. I'm just going to put another one down there at the front. There we go. So that's looking nice. Now I think I'll put in some of this yarrow. Now I don't know what it's been like for you this year, but I found that my yarrow has actually been quite bad earlier on in the season with aphids. So that was one of my tricky problems this year. So I didn't get as many yarrow to use as I would have liked, but they did flower really well. I'm going to pop that round there, and then I'm going to put some Eryngium in. Just give that a new cut since it's been in the bucket. When you've got your arrangements at home and you've been enjoying them for a couple of days, it's a good idea to change the water, and you can recut the stems then as well, and that just helps them to take up that new lovely fresh water and keeps your jar arrangement lasting that bit longer. At this time of year as well, it's important to keep your arrangements away from a direct heat source as well. We're just starting to think about turning the heating on, having our fires on in our house, but if you've got it very close to radiators or fires that are on, then the arrangements won't last as long. They do like to be in a cooler spot to get the best from them. So I'm just putting a snapdragon in there. And I've got another one here that I'm just going to add in around the other side. So they are good for just giving some accents and some spikes in an arrangement. I'm just going to add some more mallow as well. Going to put another cosmos in around this side. And then I think we might like to start adding some dahlias to it. So let's have a look and see what we have got. Got this lovely pink one here that I'm just going to add in. So recut that at an angle and pop it in. Turn it around and you can see that lovely dahlia there. Then we need something down the front here as well. It's very green at the front, so I think we need some more flowers. We've got more around the back that way. And I think we need some different colours to lighten it up as well. So this is an example of a dahlia that looks not so great. It's kind of hanging over, but actually it's a really beautiful dahlia. It is absolutely perfect. It's just not on the strongest stem. It's got a bit bashed by the wind, but actually tucked into an arrangement, it will be perfect. So we're just going to add that in. And it gets supported, that stem gets supported by lots of the other flowers round about it. So you can see it in there. I'll let you see it closer in a second. And then we'll get another one in. There's a lovely dahlia there as well. And that dahlia that I just showed you there is one of my successes from this year, which was growing dahlias from seed, which I hadn't tried before, and they've done fantastically well. There's another dahlia here. I'm just going to add it. So again, removing any foliage that's going to be below the waterline. Giving it a little cut. There we go, that's starting to look nice now. Just need something over here. So I've just popped some dahlias in around the front there. And you can use shorter stemmed dahlias. If some of your dahlias are a little bit on the short side at this time of year, then you can use them down the front of the arrangement and use taller stemmed ones up the top. So I'm going to turn it around now, and you can see around there that we haven't got huge amount of colour around the back, so we're going to see what we can add in there as well, just to break up that pink. So let's have a look and see what we can find. We have got, just for a complete contrast, some blue there, so I might add that in. This is going to be a very colourful jar of flowers. That just breaks it up slightly there. We're going to put in some white now. So got a lovely white dahlia here. That is going to go in at the back as well. That'll just break that up nicely, so that it's not a solid block of colour from the asters and the sedum. You can see there that that has started to break that up nicely at the back as well, starting to look really nice. All right, I think we might want to add some of these lovely grasses in now. So that's our lovely panicum. Just going to strip the stem slightly where it's got some excess leaves so that they're not below the water line. And then we're going to put it into our arrangement just over here. Thread it through. And then I'm going to get another one and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'll be able to show you that closer just now, and you can see those lovely panicum. So here we are, that is the panicum frosted explosion in there that you can see. It's lovely, isn't it? I'll just look over here, you can see some more. And it just catches the light in your house and it just adds movement and texture. If there's a breeze or some draft of air going around in your house, it'll move around. Just adds just that extra element to your arrangements. And you can see now that we're starting to build up all these lovely flowers to be enjoyed. And nice buds as well, which will come out in the vase and make your arrangement last longer. So things like your dahlias here, they are looking lovely for enjoying just now, but they will go over before some of your other flowers that are the buds. So you can just remove the ones that are faded and then keep the ones that are coming out to enjoy the arrangement a bit longer. And again, there you can see that lovely frosted explosion there beside the lovely white dahlia. This is cloudgrass and it's fantastic as well for adding into arrangements. So I'm going to add a little bit of this in just now as well. Really airy, quite similar to the panicum, but just a slightly different grass. And all of these dry really well as well, so you can cut them and save them for later for using in dried flower arrangements. So we can add this in down the front here. The cloudgrass doesn't have quite as strong stems as the panicum, so you have to be quite careful when you're threading it in that you don't bend the stems. So I've got a little bit of phlox here, I'm just going to add that in too. Really like annual phlox. At the beginning of the summer I always find that it's got short stems, but it does tend to get longer as the season goes on, so just now you start to get much longer, stronger stems. And the last thing that I'm going to add into it is some scabious. So scabious is a lovely annual that you can grow. I wish I grew more of it actually this year. It's been really pretty. There we go. I'll show you that close up in a minute. I'm going to find some white as well and put that in. So this is some white scabious here, that's going to go in as well. Find a spot for it. So I'm just going to add this scabious in down the front here as well. So that arrangement's looking lovely now, and I think it is ready to go out on the stall this weekend. And I'll show it you close up now so that you can see what it's looking like. But it does still show you that even with a few weeks of steady wind and rain, we can still find some beautiful flowers outside mid-October here in Scotland in the flower patch. And I definitely know that the top performers for me at this time of year are still the dahlias, as long as we've got no frost. The perennial asters, fantastic. The mallow has been a great surprise for me. It's been really good. And the cosmos fantastic if you cut it when it's cracked bud, but not fully out so you don't get the petal damage. Scabious, annual scabious, beautiful at this time of year as well. And then we're still getting second flushes of things. So I'm getting second flushes of my snapdragons, second flushes of things like my yarrow, and we're getting that lovely foliage you can work with at this time of year. So much lovely autumn foliage in the garden. So I'll show you that close up just now, but I hope you enjoyed having a look at what I had still here in the garden here in October. Thanks very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I put together an October flower arrangement with flowers that are still looking lovely in the garden mid-October, despite all that rain and wind that we've had in recent weeks. Lots of treasures still to be found.